Okay, let's see here. How do I want to... Hello guys, how's it going? Oh my gosh, I got my chat box and things. Look at me, I'm setting up like I actually know what I'm doing. And one last thing here. Perfect. Cool. That's good. Oh, put it in the wrong place. Brilliant. Let me make that smaller a little bit. Nope. Okay, we're just going to live with it. It is what it is. Okay. Hello, guys. How's it going? Oh my god, I just threw my phone across my keyboard. I hope you guys are all doing great. Let me open up my phone so I can read the chats while I am doing all of this. Welcome to a weekday live. I just got done with work for some vacation time now, and I'm gonna chill out for about 6 days. Alright, let me pull this open so I can read chats. Oh my god, every single time. Oh my gosh, there's so many chats already. Hello, oh my god. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay because obviously I'm going to read chats as they come in. They're going to be a little bit later. But let's see. I see that Chinchi asked me about experiences meeting Paradox Live fan at conventions. Let's see here. I've cosplayed a Yuri, I think at least at 3 different conventions. At least 3. I've actually held panels for Paradox Live at 2 different conventions, and My first time holding a panel, like, I think maybe 6 to 10 people showed up, and like half of them were late. There was like one person when I started, and I was super disheartened, but it turned out okay. People came. Since then, I've done other panels. I've done at least one other panel or 2 other panels about Paradox Live. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, they're like kind of small groups because obviously it's sort of niche still. But I've really enjoyed myself. And it's always like really cool, I guess, when you're in kind of a niche fandom, when people see you and it's like, oh my god, like you're from the thing that I know that no one else knows. So it's been a lot of fun in the past. Let's see here. Reading some other ones. I see some other people talking about favorites. Google Docs. Yeah, I run all of my fics. I write everything on Google Docs. Because I don't have Word. I can't afford Word. So I'm really just running things off the internet. If Google Docs were to go down, I would be in a lot of trouble. Let's just put it that way. I love seeing the Zen cosplayers. Like, shout out to Zen cosplayers. Wish that could be me. I'm actually just very small, stature-wise. I feel very, I don't know. I'd feel very self-conscious. Let's see. Wow, that's interesting. I am not super into Hypnosis Mike. But I feel like the characters are kind of recognizable, you know what I mean? I guess it also depends on where you are, though. I will say in the last couple years, I've definitely seen, like, Hypnosis Mike merchandise appearing at different, like, conventions and things in, like, the merch hall and stuff. And I feel like, so, as a result, it's, like, unsurprising when people recognize the characters from Hypnosis Mike. And then obviously in like the weird little square of the internet that I'm on, I recognize the characters from Hypnosis Mike as well. That is so many, so many characters, but go for it. I hope you do cosplay all of those characters. Cosplaying is so much fun. I think that like sometimes people, especially now, I guess, because things are so like online, and you can put pictures everywhere. But I feel like genuinely, cosplaying can be so much fun. I think it really is at the core of it. It's all just about like doing what you like and expressing yourself, and like I feel like it's also like pouring love into a character that you love. I made most of my EOD cosplay like stuff. I actually purchased like the one initially for like the kimono and howdy parts of it, and then I've kind of like gone back and made a lot of them myself. Like I just recently made the kimono part, and now the only thing that I really use actively from the original outfit that I bought is just the howdy, the outer jacket. Which I've been thinking about remaking just because I can, hypothetically. But, like, I made all the rings and stuff. And I don't know, it's just, like, a lot of fun to do a lot of, like, detail work, even if, like, no one's going to pay attention, no one's going to, like, see it all, really, or even, like, recognize it. It just kind of, like, it's like a labor of love, in a way, you know? I think a Simon cosplay would be cool, because even if, like, I don't know, even if people don't recognize it, it's such a classy look, you know what I mean? You just look very classy in general. I see. I don't actually follow Hypnosis Mike story-wise. I I feel like everything... I'm gonna stir my tea, it's gonna be really loud for a second. I don't follow the story of Hypnosis Mike, but every time I read anything else about Hypnosis Mike, it's just more unhinged than the last thing that I read about Hypnosis Mike, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. You know what? I also hate looking at myself, so I totally understand that. Like, I'll finish my cosplay and be like, wow, I don't like how any of this looks. This is a mess. Wow, it's cool. This Iori costume has my face atop of it. Terrible. But, you know, I'm working on that. I'm trying to work on that, you know. I think also the shift for me at least is because now I am in fact an adult person, so I don't have that like androgynous baby face look anymore. Which I guess like once you enter a certain point of like cosplaying, you're like, I should find characters that suit me better than a smooth faced young person. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen Paradox Live cosplayers, though, in the wild. I don't think I have seen other people cosplaying Paradox Live. Mostly it's just people going like, oh my god, is that Paradox Live? And then, like, you know. I made, when I went to, like, the con as Iori, I made business cards for Club Candy. So on the front of it, it says, like, Club Candy, and on the back of it, it says, like, Iori Suiseki, aka Kashira or whatever, and then it's got like a QR code that leads to Gira Gira Candy Night, like the music video on YouTube. That was a lot of fun. I just like, it turns out it's very cheap to make, like for me anyway, it was very cheap to make these kinds of cards at like Staples. And it was just kind of fun because you're like, oh, you want to know what I'm from? Here, look up this music video. It's pretty good anyway. So it was a lot of fun. I hope I'm glad you find my voice nice. I kind of just woke up from a nap, so I feel like I'm cheating. It's a little bit deeper than usual. Let's see here. Oh man, I feel like it's hard to miss somebody if they're cosplaying Iori too, right? I also had the geta, like the wooden sandals. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed clacking across every tile and like hard floor that I crossed, just like clip clop clip clop. It was very fun because it was like, I feel like maybe another element of Iori's character, right, because of the way that he is like if you are walking across somewhere clip clopping along in your geta, like everyone kind of like has to glance over to be like, what in the heck is that? And it's just, you know, you're dressed like Iori, so you're just decked out. Like, I feel like maybe this is, like, another tactic. Yeah, no, those were my cards. I took the logo from Club Candy that was on the banner ad that they had. I think, what was that with? It was during the like first part of Road to Legend. They had the little Q&A segments, and each of the Q&A segments from the different characters had like a little banner ad for like something relevant to the group at the bottom. And Akanyatsura's had Club Candy. So I took like the emblem from that, and then I slapped it on like a royalty-free, you know, black and gold background. And I did some other stuff, so it was a good time. So today, what I was kind of thinking, earlier in the week, early in the week, it's Tuesday. I guess earlier I was thinking like, you know, it'd be a lot of fun, for me as a kind of like a creative challenge to go like, all right, let's come up with some like, fan fiction ideas that are not from me, that are maybe like crowdsourced, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of wanted to probe the audience, ask you guys like, what are some things that you would have interest in seeing made into fan fictions, maybe something like that, and I can see if I can accommodate that by creating something from these sorts of prompts or concepts. Let's see. Also, I totally feel you in trying to get everyone into Paradox Live music and the story. I have like my slideshow, like a slideshow presentation that I use for my panel. And I remember at one point I was talking with a friend, and they were like, or a friend's friend rather, and they were like, so tell me about this thing that you're cosplaying from. And so like literally I just pulled out my phone, opened up Google Slides, and I'm like, I'm glad you asked. I'm prepared. And I started like rattling off my presentation. So it was a lot of fun. What fandom? I was thinking, obviously, this is like for Paradox Live. I would hope, mostly just because it's the one that I'm currently fixated on. Though I will say, in terms of like anime things that I've been following this season, if you guys are even a little bit tolerant to watching mecha, please go watch, what is that called? Bang Brave Bravern? Oh my god. That entire show has been extremely entertaining, and it's not even like a homoerotic undertone. It's literally just gay. Fantastic. A plus. Great show. Extremely entertaining. Plot twists like crazy. The tone shifts all over the place between being like really gritty, realish kind of military show to being like really goofy. So yeah, if you're even a slightly into watching mecha or anything like that, just give Bang Brave Braver no try. Yeah, I also watch it. Look, I started watching it because I saw the ending where the two guys are singing like shirtless, and I was like, oh, maybe I should give that. Maybe I should check it out. I was not disappointed, and then I showed my friends, and they're all into it now too. We're all invested. Let's see. Hokusai with Akan Katsura opening a pet shop. Let me write that down on my blank document here. Okay. All right, I have. And the ending of Bang Brave Brave. Also, the song itself goes so hard. I am in love with that song, actually. That, and then also the opening. So honestly, the songs, opening and ending song for Bravern, Bang Brave Bravern, are better than they have any right to be. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That episode 11, guys, it's like, it's already barely gay subtext, like homoerotic subtext, and then like by episode 11 it's just text. Fantastic. Wow, so good. Let's see here. Akaniza's commentary on them having to dress up in their outfits that you see in the official art. Like their usual performance outfits, or like different outfits, I guess. Like their Showtime outfits, yeah? I will put that down. AU of Akanyatsura, where they never met each other and they run into one another in random encounters. You know, like, it's like the one song they did say, like, no matter what happens, they'll always meet each other. But true, let's see, AU, where Akan, Yatsura members never met each other. Oh my god, I've spelled each wrong twice into each other. Gosh, I feel like that's such a cool concept, though, right? Like, I can so clearly in my head see a situation where, like, you know, Satsuki's on the train going somewhere, like a subway or something, like maybe just the normal train, and, like, he's looking across the car, and there's, like, you know, Reo going to normal kid high school, or maybe even rich kid high school. You know, you have, like, Zen cruising by in the patrol car. Oh man, what a concept. Yeah, I would ask if they remain kind of the prompts remain in kind of the realm of the, you know, rated E for everybody, sort of, maybe PG-13. That's what I'm saying. There was yeah, exactly, lesbian mecha, now there's gay mecha. It's funny because I saw somebody comment, like, they're like, oh, they tricked the Fujoshis into watching this or whatever. And then somebody had, like, retweeted and responded to them, like, you guys say this like, you know, these, like, Fujoshi shippers haven't been here since the beginning of, like, mecha as a genre. It kind of reminds me of, like, the early days of, like, Star Trek fandom or something, right? Like, the shippers have been as long as the fandoms existed. Let's see, a one-shot where Satsuki finally gets the one-up on Reo for once. I could see that. Let's see here. Let's see. Maybe no lemons. I'm not opposed to making some lemonade every now and then, but maybe not right now for the stream. We'll talk later. Maybe. I do have a hidden like adult fanfic account. I haven't put anything on it yet though, so let's see here. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I have that one open as well because I was gonna say it. I had planned, that was my backup plan, like if it was kind of like there weren't a lot of people here or something. I also have that I'm working on too, because I'm working on like the next chapter of it. It's been a lot of fun. I did actually I had to go back because like as I'm writing it, I do keep like the tabs open, so to speak, and check back at other chapters to make sure that things are like what's the word? You know, that they're following like a timeline, and that things are you know, there isn't any like weird retconning. I did already have a retcon where literally I started writing a chapter, and then when I went back to check something, I realized that at the end of the chapter, right before the most previous one that I had uploaded, like at the end of that chapter, Iori is running, and then immediately in the next chapter he's just standing somewhere. I was like, oh crap. So I had to go back and fix the end of that chapter so that the next chapter made sense. So, you know, nobody saw anything, I'm sure. I'm always kind of worried because I do tweak things as I go. Like if I forget something, or if I end up changing something in the long term that like for a better flow, or like as I kind of get a clearer picture of how the general plot will go, I'm always a little worried people would be like gaslit, like I swear to God this thing happened and I just don't see it happening now. But I do change as I write, I guess, because I do want to make sure again that like the final end product is all up into one kind of standard and one large arc that makes sense. Dongha getting dragged out to hang out with the Akanya. Oh, for sure. Let me put that one. Take care so long for people who are stepping out. Please go work on fan fictions. Let's see here. Dongha dragged around by the Perfect. I think the hardest thing, and I got this from like watching another podcast completely unrelated to like anime or anything like that. But I think it was like really good advice as like writers in general. They were talking about how the best thing you can do as a writer, creatively speaking, is to be consistent. And I get that, like, especially when you're like a student, because I also used to write as a student when I was in high school. Guys, I've been writing fan fiction probably since I was in middle school, so it's about like 13, 14-ish, like for a perspective. So like I've been writing fan fiction literally for half of my life, sometimes like less than other times throughout that period. But when I was in high school, I wrote fan fiction every single day. Like in class, I would have a notebook open and I would just be writing things down as I kind of thought them up, like, and then at night I would take the handwritten pages and I would type them up on the computer. And then I would like post them to fanfiction.net. Shout out to the OGs who used to actually use fanfiction.net. You know, but creatively speaking, what the people in this podcast were saying is that like as a writer, it helps you to write consistently, especially if it's like a certain place or certain time every single day, so that by the time you sit down and enter that part of your routine, your brain is ready to go, right? You know, sometimes if you just sit down like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write something today, it's really hard to come up with things. But if you have it built into your schedule and your routine, it helps your brain not like skip over the part where you're sitting there looking at the page going like, oh, what am I going to write today? Or, well, what are some concepts? You're already like, you're sitting down and you're already kind of coming up with things going on. My routine usually involves me getting on my stationary bike and writing on my cell phone while I do that. It's like the wind down part of my workout. So Wrote my first fanfiction for an assignment in primary school. You have me beat. That's crazy. I love that, though. I definitely have turned in fanfiction, I think, at least once or twice as, like, creative writing prompts in, like, high school. I don't think I did in college. You know what? No, I lied. I definitely might have slipped and included character names in a paper that a creative work that I turned in college. But no one knew. So, oh man, pick it up. Like honestly, yeah, building a habit of writing, right? That is how you kind of being consistent, right? Like because the thing is too, let's say that you write every single day. Maybe you set aside like an hour or something every single day just to sit down and write something. You don't have to save everything you've written. Sometimes you're going to sit down and look at something you've written and go, that's crap, I'm going to rewrite it. There are plenty of times where I sit down and I start kind of on one direction in like a chapter, and then I sit down and again, I look at it and go, I'm just going to scrap this whole thing. So those are normal things. Those are good things. You should be kind of doing that. Stream of thought is fine. But I feel like when you kind of really want to produce something that is kind of like I guess like a step above just kind of your general, like I vomit concepts on a page kind of thing. If you want to really sit down and create a work, it takes time and you're going to take parts out and put parts in and move parts around and stuff like that. I have like a whole note on my phone, and it's literally just the general timeline of the events that happen in the story, the crow that turns white. So, for example, I think it all takes place within about 3 months. It takes about 3 months. So Zen starts the assignment, and then within like the first week, I have what happens. Like chapter 5 is like by the end of the first week. Then a couple chapters happen in week 2, then a couple chapters happen in week 3, and then 4, and so on and so forth. And then there's a little bit of time skip. And then by the time I think where we are now, it's like week 12. That's a really great idea too, like trying to kind of crowdsource. I'm actually not in the middle of a writer's block. I just really love getting other people's ideas, right? Because I have things that I like to come up with, or ideas that like my brain kind of circulates, or I don't know, gravitates towards. But it's really fun to me sometimes to like crowdsource and talk to other people and see what they're thinking too, because then I get different perspectives or ideas. And also it challenges me to try different things in my writing. A fanfic where Dongha finds out sooner than later that Hajun was the one who took him out to the market when he was little. I think, here's the thing. So, Dongha knows that it's Hajun, right? Are you saying that you want him to find out rather, like, at that time when he's out with Hajun, that he finds out that Hajun's his brother? Because that's also a really cool concept. I think also, like, in this respect, the Dongha story is really interesting because it also shows kind of, like, he's a kid, right? So he has, like, a kid mentality of, like, he left me behind. He did it because he wants to be cruel to me, as opposed to, like, realizing that it's not him-centric. It's Hajun's thing. All right, let me put that down. Concept. Dongha realizing that Hajun is his brother. All right, cool. I'm really surprised, actually. I'm glad that everyone is like Akan Yatsura ideas, because that is, in fact, my wheelhouse. Those are the things that I do like writing. I was like, whew, okay, good. I can write those characters. I feel like some other characters I would have no idea how to write. I'd have to really sit there and think about it, too. I also wish Amperil's audio dramas were better. I'm glad that, I like the little bit in Anthem, though, where, like, he's interacting with Alan. I think that's really funny. And Alan is just losing it. It's great. I'm going to drink some tea here. right, do you have an idea? Ever have an idea you're excited to write, but get performance anxiety with the execution of writing it? It's been a problem for me. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, so I guess, like, for me, I get an idea, and then I immediately get excited about the idea, and I write a lot. And then, from there, it's kind of a process of picking out the best parts, right? So I think the best thing to do when that happens is just write things. Like, write what you think would happen within that span. I think that The Crow That Turns White's a really good example. Actually, when I started writing this, it was not supposed to be, like, one long narrative. It was literally just, like, my idea was a bunch of vignettes, like little short stories about things that happen while Zen is undercover. And at some point, it changed from the vignette structure and became literally chapters. And you can tell because, like, in my writing, in, like, my document at the beginning, it would just be, like, there are no chapter names. Like in Piece of Pudding, I have, like, chapter names and stuff because this is chapter 1, this is chapter 2, or whatever. The Crow That Turns White, it's just, I would finish writing, like, a short story that happens within this time period, and then I would just, like, create a new page and just start writing something else, like a different scene, basically. So that's why, like, I guess, like, the first bits are very disconnected, and they all kind of happen in, like, a vague time space, and then after that, there's a point where it just starts becoming, like, this is happening, and now this is happening. So. Fic where Akanyatsu guys interact with Goku Luck guys. Alright, let me put that in there. Oh my gosh. Something with Akanyatsura, cat's whiskers, and cats. Completely random. I want to make a character with prosthetic limbs, partially made of... That's a really cool concept, actually. That's, like, super interesting. You should do that. Absolutely. Akanyatsura, cat's whiskers, and cats. Let's see here. Akanyatsura running an anime cafe and serving you drinks and stuff while messing things up. I actually just recently got the art from the, like, one of the cafe things, and I love it so much. It's beautiful. I have it, like, stuck up in my apartment now. I have a little coaster of Zen serving drinks. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It is not mentioned specifically what disorder Yudo has, and I think it's, like, kind of intentional. Let's see, hang on, real quick. I'm gonna put up Akan. So the guy is running a cafe messing up orders. I think it's intentional because they tend to use tend to say just, like, multiple personality disorder. I don't know exactly where the Japanese, like, mental health, psychology people are in terms of, like, identifying certain disorders and things like that. I've also generally personally viewed Yudo's disorder as being a very, like, it's fiction multiple personality disorder. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean that in the sense that I would not view it as, like, necessarily this is an accurate representation of DID or something. Because I know some people get kind of, like, they don't really particularly like it, that it's, like, it falls into this kind of stereotype trope of, like, yeah, people who have, like, DID or multiple personalities are dangerous or something like that. I think that the more you relate this kind of concept as, like, more of a fictional take on it, kind of the better for everyone's, like, well-being in real life. And people are welcome to interpret it as they will. But that's my personal take and how I kind of view it, is it's very much like fictional multiple personality disorder. Zen, with his bandana on, the little, like, head thing he's got on in the cafe art, he is so endearing. He is so adorable. I can't even. Where can we see this coaster? Hang on, let me... I don't... I'll post a picture of it on my community page later. Yeah, exactly. I think it's, in my personal opinion, I think it's a good thing that they didn't try to, like, say this is DIT, because it's not an accurate representation of these things. You know, and that's why I'm kind of like, I would, again, view this, like, with a huge grain of salt, like a huge level of, like, suspension of disbelief, if you will. And I'm kind of curious to see, like, how it will... like, how our understanding of him develops as the series continues and as we have more access to him as a character. Because I am curious where that will go from there. But let me see here. Okay. But yeah, right now, any more Gokula content? That's fair. Oh man, I'm trying to think, like, did I have things planned right now? I didn't really have anything planned that I was thinking about writing. I mean, Gokula doesn't really appear... Yudo's mentioned, I guess, in The Crow That Turns White. I'm trying to figure out if he'll appear at the end of the fic or not. Because the series of events is kind of like, I'm not exactly sure how they fall, right? Like, because the series of events is that in the canon series, right? Zen takes a bullet for Iori at some point. Iori in the light novel tells Zen, I was surprised that you did it, basically, because I didn't think a cop would do that. And Zen is like, oh my god, I can't believe that I was so obvious that everyone knew I was a cop already. So it was while he was still undercover. But the craziest thing, in my personal opinion, right? So Zen gets shot. He's like, he gets shot in the side too, because in the light novel as well, he mentions like doing Russian twists, which is a kind of like exercise that is for your like obliques and your abdominal muscles. So he gets shot in that region. So he gets shot. And then, like, at some point after that, he goes and is like, I have decided to become a Yakuza and leave the police force. And then Yudo just beats the crap out of him. Like, this poor guy, for, like, a series of time, like, a period of time, can't catch a break. He just... like, I'm imagining he's, like, recovering. He's, like, limping around, like, I'm getting better. And then, like, Yudo just hammers the crap out of him. Poor guy. Akon yesterday getting lost in IKEA. A fic where Yudo and the personality of Hancho are two different people in the prison complex. Sounds really interesting. That does something. So, like, they're, like, literally two physically different people. As in, like, as in they're in prison, or as in they're still the guards, but they're two different guards? And then Akon said, sorry, I have to write that down. Akon yesterday getting lost in an IKEA. Oh my god. I feel like Cosmos, they get lost in the IKEA, and then Cosmos is just there sleeping on, like, one of the beds. Feet Cosmos. Two different guards. Alright, Hachu takes Cosmos to an upscale mall. Like in that episode of Spy Family. Oh no. It just makes me think of how, like, I was joking, you know, like, Kanata's little, like, medallion thing he wears? I was joking, that, like, he actually just made it out of tinfoil, right? Because he can't, like, afford actual jewelry. Let's see here. Everyone in Paralive. is at the IKEA. Hack into Best Buy. AU, where Kenta works in the Geek Squad. The endless IKEA SCP. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna put Kenta Geek Squad. Hang on. Kenta in the Geek Squad. Meta AU, where Iori and Zen are fic writers. Oh my gosh. No, okay, no, I can see this. Like, I'm imagining in my head, and like Zen is like leaving these like long, like they're not like complex, but he like constantly is always leaving reviews. He's like, another good chapter this week. I would expect that. Oh my gosh. AU where I'm imagining an AU where Zen is a what is it called, like a VTuber. but his like rig looks just like him. I'm so mean to Zen. I feel like sometimes I'm like, this guy's an idiot, but like in a good way. They have to rap hip hop their way out of the endless IKEA. I'm just imagining like Satsuki. I'm trying to think. Maybe like Satsuki and like Kanata. Probably Ryoga. They're just like camped out in the like the food court, and they're just like going to like ham on those little like IKEA hot dogs. They're just like killing it. Just like they've got like that massive platter of them, and they're all just going to town. Alan and Anne follows Hajun daily routine. Let's see here. As in, they're like, I don't know, they're watching him do his routine, or if they're like, they're also taking part in following his daily routine. We're getting really wild. I feel like some of these are, okay, no, actually, this is leading me back to my concept of a Budoicon, the Budoicon fan OC who's like has like his crazy conspiracy theory Budoicon takes. I was like thinking, actually, like within the universe of Paradox Live, and there's an ARG, but it's about like Budaikon's disappearance. Like, I was like, that would happen in that universe. I don't have the whatever to do that, but I was thinking that was a cool idea. Nagita takes Kanata clothes shopping, and they just have a bunch of fun because they deserve good things. Gosh dang it. That's fair. Let's see here. Nagita. I suddenly cannot type. Oh my god, I can't type. I got it. We're doing it. We're doing the thing, guys. I could see that. I was thinking, though, like, I've been turning it around in my head for a long time. I like thinking about a Paradox Live kind of, like, horror-esque story, I guess. I don't know exactly how I would go about it, but I was thinking, I'm like, I feel like the parts are there, and I just haven't been able to figure out how to put them all together, you know? Let's see, the Best Buy idea is making me laugh because the one time in our roleplay, Shion's phone broke, and Zen was like, Kenta couldn't fix it. I'm a hacker, not a Best Buy employee. That's what I'm saying. He should just become a Best Buy employee. I feel like Paradox Live genuinely has like all the pieces for a cool horror concept, right? It's driving me crazy because I feel like they're all there, and I'm just like grasping at straws. Like, how could I put the horror into it? Because I love like ghost stories and scary stories and stuff. Like, I just can't figure out how to put it there. Alan would totally be the first. I don't know. I feel like you know what? Actually, I keep on having this scene in my head as well with like the Akan Yatsura boys and the Cat's Whiskers boys, and they go to like a haunted shrine or something. And like that scene in my head, it's been in my head for a while. Just the concept of them, and they're out there, and like he's got the camera, you know, and like Satsuki's just losing it because Satsuki always struck me as like the bad with ghosting. And then I was like validated in that because the exhibition show, he's like, I don't like things I can't punch, you know. I could see that. Like Satsuki's screaming every other second. Phantom Metal Zombie AU clunky in her head. I think that could work. I think that could work really well. And it has that kind of like existential horror to it, sort of, you know. Kento would make bank Kento would make bank being one of those people that like tests and like breaks security software to like improve security, like software security. People who like work for banks or like government organizations, and they like hack the stuff so that they can improve the systems. He would go Kuro. You say that. I've thought about it. Concept. Zen joins Suiseki Gumi because Iori is his fated pair. I leave you with that concept. So the haunted shrine came up because, like, y'all know how if you watch like online ghost videos, because I love online ghost videos, like even if they're like super corny and obviously fake, love them. And so I feel like the Japanese ones, right? There's always like the guys, and they're out there at like some like haunted shrine, and there's the one guy like maji nani kore, right? And they're always like doing like this the whole time, and they're like. And then there's like a woman painted white in like a dress, and she's like hidden slightly off camera, or whatever. And I was like, I'm imagining this setup, but it's like literally Reo, Hokusai, Satsuki, Shiki, and Ryu. I think that'd be really funny. A white hat. Yeah, I guess. Is that the name of that job? I don't know. I'm a mere high school educator. But if that is the name of that hacker, then yes. The Phantom Metal is a sentient hive mind. Every you is a protag, highly resistant. I feel like that concept is what the anime was going for, you know? I really feel like that's kind of what they were trying to go for, but they just didn't do well with it. Werewolf AU. Sorry, I just noticed that one. Let me... Werewolf AU. Which is... awfully close to that Omegaverse AU. I'm just gonna pretend that doesn't exist. Paradox Live Beach episode. Gosh, we wish. Do you guys know about there was an interview that happened, I'm trying to remember when in the timeline of events, like in the real world that was, but there was a magazine interview at some point where they were talking to the characters, and they were saying like, what are you gonna do for the summer? And the Akan Yatsura boys wanted to go to the beach, but Zen was like, we're going to have to be sure to cover up the tattoos if we go to the beach. And so Iori's like, oh, we'll rent out a boat instead, and then we can be out on the beach, on the ocean, and we don't have to worry about covering up our tattoos. And it's really funny, though, because Iori makes a comment where he's like, like being on a boat with, like, you know, a cool drink and, like, and a woman would be great. And then Zen is like, getting a tan will make my muscles look like 15% better. It felt like he was like challenged. He's like, just so you know, I would look very good with more of a suntan. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like test of courage for sure. The anime, yes, the anime. Sorry, I'll let you forget about the anime again. No, I don't, because I already have students who are like, you have a YouTube channel? What kind of YouTube videos do you do? And I really don't want them to know that. I don't want them to find out. It is a small enough fandom that if they know that, they could find me. Kura kura, that is... That's unhinged. I think... I think the other day in class, I had a student who actually said something about, like, I think he was talking about, like, you know, like, alpha male, sigma male, and he's like, there's, like, beta male, he was like, are there, like, omega males? And I was just like, I don't think it's in the part of the internet that you're talking about. Tattoo Shop AU, an oldie but a goodie. Let me put that in there. Guys, you know, okay, so recently I got a tattoo, a new one. I have a handful now. I was getting work done on my chest, and getting your sternum tattooed is like bad. It's not fun. But while it was being tattooed, I comforted myself with a thought of how many sessions that Satsuki's tattoos must have taken, and he looks so tacky. I don't know if you people are deep into the tattoo lore, but tribal tattoos are very 90s. So, like, the thing I love about Satsuki is he's got just these tacky tattoos that are, like, really out of date. I mean, I feel like a lot of anime characters, though, have, like, tribal tattoos, because I guess, like, Japan has reached the 90s. Which I guess you can see in a lot of, like, I don't know, fashion and stuff, but it is very funny to me that that's the style they went with. I feel like it suits Satsuki because he is that kind of guy, but it is very, very funny to me that he just has this massive tribal piece that must have taken at least, like, I don't know, like 3-4 sessions, and it's like solid black. That's rough. That's rough. Let's see. It'd actually be fun to see Bay and Visty interact. Dude, there are so many interactions we haven't seen yet that I would love to see, that we just have not seen play out, right? I think Bay and Visty would be a lot of fun to see. I feel like also, I would like to see, like, Kay and Alan interact, because I feel like they could have, like, a weird, like, 4D chess music conversation, and everyone else would just be like, sure, yeah. Boat AU. What do you mean by boat AU? Like, they're boats. It's like cars, except for their boats. Dude, Satsuki is like flashy. His style is something. I love his aesthetic. Alan Cage. I bet Alan and Kay could have some wild conversations. I'm not really like, I don't know if I'd ship them. I think that they would really be a cool pair to, like, have in a room together. They would you know what, actually, if there's another shuffle team, I want that Alan Kay, that song would be, like, I don't know, probably transcendental or something. We would, like, we would all achieve enlightenment by listening to it, I bet. That would be interesting. Yeah, lady saves. That's a cool concept. Thanks. Let's see here. Let me put high scores flocking en masse. The Paradox Live fandom. I highly doubt it. I do like to have conversations with my students, though, about anime, like when they're into anime. I'm, like, very open about liking anime, so I'll talk to them about stuff or whatever. I was talking with, like, students, because I feel like Naruto is still relevant, which is crazy, right? I was into Naruto when I was, like, in middle school and high school, like, middle school mostly, but even early high school. I kind of gave up, like, halfway through high school, then I came back and finished it later, but super hardcore into Naruto for years. And it's crazy to me that now, like, there are students who are, like, older than I was then, and they're, like, just getting into it. How do I feel about Rooftop Friends having an extra each song? Honestly, I don't mind. Like, I think it's fine. I'm not a person who's, like, jealous, I guess, of, like, other units. You know what I mean? I think it's good for them. It's kind of like how I think it's cool that Lollipop Universe also got to do, like, a collab with Swank. I think it's kind of nice when you see... I like when I see the shuffle teams also do other things. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's kind of cool where it's like a callback to that, because it ties it into the universe that this is something that actually happened, sort of canonically. That being said, I would, like, lose my mind if we got another Club Candy. Dude, Club Candy is such a good group of characters. I'm like diehard Club Candy stan. Alan trying out being an idol singer with Fisty's help. I could see it. Like, I mean, Alan's got a good singing voice. He just like does a lot of yelly rap. Like, he's got that shonen protagonist voice. A track maker shuffle team unit would be so cool, actually. I think like another cool one would be like maybe the little brother unit. So it'd be like I would put in Reo, Nayuta, Rokuta, Dongha. I think that would be cool. Or you could have one that's called like Happy Anthem. Yes, Happy Anthem release day, everybody, one and all. Or maybe like a Fortnite gaming lobby group, and it's like Kenta, Reo, Satsuki, Kanata. I just like I'm imagining like teenage characters, but like they're likely to yell at each other over like video game voice chat. I think that'd be funny. Oh, what was the other one I wanted to see? I mean, I still really want to see the adult group that was initially like just the Cat's Whiskers adults and like Akanyatsura adults. So Simon, Yohei, Iori, and Zen. I still want to see that unit, honestly. I still have that little kernel of hope in my heart. Let's see. Alan's voice are the same VAs. I am not that's N-Stars, right? I'm not an N-Star person. I have no idea, but probably. Also, I think I saw another. Do I ship anything else in Paradox Live? I ship like Saihei. I actually had this question recently too. So I ship Saihei. I like. There's also like ships I feel like that I kind of just like accept, but I don't necessarily like as like canon sort of. But I'm not like an active shipper. I guess like I would consider like an active shipper being like I'm actively manifesting, I guess. like for example, like the Burai-kan, like Chisei and Haruomi. I feel like that's just kind of like I just assume they're a couple kind of. And like I like the stuff that I see of them. It's not like something that I'm like going out of my way to like ship, but I just kind of like accept them as a couple sort of. I'm a hardcore I want to manifest Ann and Satsuki. I feel like our boy Satsuki needs this W. He needs to take that win, and I believe in him. That sounded really insincere. I believe in our boy Satsuki. I want Satsuki to get at least a date, like a foot in the door, kind of. I'm a strong Bai King Satsuki believer. I want to see that come to fruition. What other characters are like? I don't know. I like Shogo Toma. I'm not like super into like the depth or whatever. I tend to like gravitate towards like more characters who are like older adults, I guess, when I'm writing ships. I guess it's probably also where I am in my life right now, though, where I kind of like creating these sort of domestic, routine-based, like, we get past these like chaotic years of our lives and we find a family together sort of thing. Where I'm not like an early 20s finding out about, I don't know, real dating for the first time or something. But I do like Shogo Toma as like a couple. I'm trying to think of if there are other ones. I just like assume that Iori and Yohei are exes, quite frankly. Like I've generally kind of presumed that it has that kind of vibe where maybe they fooled around when they were teenagers, but like I don't know. I feel like some people get really whatever about it. And I'm like, guys, Yohei left the gang when he was like, what, like 17, I think? They were like really young, so I could see it. Yeah, I feel like Rooftop Friends. I also, actually, in terms of like younger ships, I do ship, I casually ship Reo and Shiki together. I think they have really cute dynamics sometimes. Like in the fan book, in the short story, there's a part where Shiki is getting ready to take part in his like school sports festival, and he's practicing for the three-legged race. And while he's doing that, Reo ends up like coming by and helping out. And while they're like practicing, Shiki's thinking like, "Oh my god, his hair smells really good. Like he's so cool. If he were like a student, like a normal high school student, he'd be so popular." So I feel like they could have like a cute dynamic too. let's see here. Ryoga and Shion. I feel like I have seen every single combination of Goku Luck characters. Every time I see one involving Kenta, like I die a little bit inside. But like literally, I've seen every single possible ship between Shion, Ryoga, Yuto, and Hancho. I'll throw him in too as a separate entity because I've seen all of them. I feel like I don't really have any strong feelings like one way or the other. I've seen some really cool works from like artists who do things with like Hokushion. But yeah, I don't know. I've also seen like people doing Ryoga Satsuki. I don't really have any strong feelings towards it. I've seen like really good artwork from it, but I'm also just kind of like, I guess like I could see like interesting concepts coming of it where like to Ryoga, Satsuki is like in his mind sort of still kind of that like younger brother kind of character, like, you know, he's kind of like a kid that he hung out with when he was like a teenager, and this kid is just like hanging around, and then like now he's like older and like Satsuki's older and they're both like adults essentially, and be like, oh my god, he's grown up. Like I could see that kind of maybe being a thing, but like I'm not really strongly sold on anything, you know. Sharon, I love switching bodies. I have had I have had concepts of like Zen and Yohei, but they switch bodies. This like whole concept in my head for a while. Shuffle team of everyone with the deep voice. I just saw that. The earthquake shuffle team unit. You can't actually hear it if you're driving in the car. It's the rumbles are too low. But yes, I do love the switching bodies. I'm gonna put that down though. I just think it'd be really funny. I think it'd be really funny to see like a situation where Yohei and Zen were to switch bodies, mostly because I think one of the cool things about the Cat's Whiskers and Akan Yatsura is that they are very much foils of each other in a lot of different ways. Like the Cat's Whiskers is very Western themed, so to speak. So like the foods that they talk about, right? Like Yohei talks about like making risotto, and Shiki's favorite food is like pancakes, and they have these like Western foods, whereas like Zen is always creating like making traditional Japanese cuisine. You know, but they also have like a very different dynamic, I guess, like functionally. But the Zen and Yohei are also both like the team mom, but they have like very different ways of handling things. So I think it'd be like really funny in like a situation where like Yohei, like Zen wakes up and he's either like literally Yohei in Zen's body, or he's like just has Yohei's personality. Like he's standing there cooking breakfast with like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and like she you know, Satsuki and Reo are fighting, and like he just turns around and looks at them, or maybe he like grabs something and he like whips it at him, and he's like, knock it off, you know, or whatever. And then like the two of them are just sitting there looking at each other like, oh god. I think that'd be really funny. How a deaf person would navigate. It's really interesting that you said that, Emma. Actually, one of the things in the light novel, right? So, if you read the light novel, the transcripts also, like, Jackal has actually translated the parts of the light novel on, and like I link his page where he translates all this stuff in my videos. If you go there, you can actually read the light novel translated, which is really nice, completely for free. Please support the official release. But in the light novel, Akan Yatsura's previous head, Shingo Suiseki, was giving money to Ultra Trigger. And the reason he was giving money to Ultra Trigger from like Suiseki Gumi was because they were saying that they were they were doing research into how to use Phantom Metal to help deaf people. So I think the idea was maybe using Phantom Metal to create like illusions to aid the hearing impaired. And that was like a project that Shingo believed in, and so he was putting money into it. And when he found out about the human experiments, he withdrew that money, and that's what Iori believes caused Ultra Trigger to perpetrate the raid against the Suiseki Gumi. But yeah, it's really interesting that you said that, though. I think that's cool. I have a 5-person unit that I've been writing up. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. I kind of made like a loose unit concept with a friend. Um, the unit we had, I think there were 3 people in it. Uh, but the idea was like that they were like friends who met in like a gay bar sort of locale, and the OC I made is like a teacher who like during the day has one persona, but like when he's like rapping he has a different persona because he doesn't want to be recognized. A completely creative idea that was not inspired by any real life things at all. And then my friend's character was was like an onesan, so like kind of like a flamboyant gay Japanese man. And so that's kind of the concept we were going with, so it was a good time. We should probably develop it more because it was a really funny concept. Or not like funny, I guess, but like an interesting concept. Let's see. I do think that the Cat's Whiskers and Akanyetsa, they really do like kind of mirror each other in interesting ways, and then they also don't. I think that also in like a larger scale, in like a meta scale, Akanyetsa and the Cat's Whiskers are interesting because there's these 2 different sides, right? There's the path that Yohei took, and there's a path that Iori took. And in this respect, I think it's really interesting, right? Because they do both have the same start, but they ended up in 2 different ways. It's kind of like they allude to in Double Trouble when they're talking about like, even though our paths are different, our soul is still one. Where they start from this place. And it's really interesting as well because you start off with kind of like a little bit more of a gung-ho, Yohei ending up leaving the gang altogether. And I think it's also really interesting because within the songs themselves, the way that Yohei talks about his time in the gang is really negative. He often refers to the gang as being like, I know in the songs and the lyrics he's called them like a violent cartel. He's talked about like negative, like, toxic parts of living in gang culture and stuff like that, and his experiences and how like he had these like violent and negative experiences, whereas Iori personally has found like family and self-actualization and meaning in life from the gang. I think that's like a really interesting concept that they've explored by kind of having that and putting that forward between the 2 of them. That's a really cool way of putting it. Yeah, Akanyatsuda is the sun and the Cat's Whiskers is the moon. Well, and it's interesting too, right? Because like Akanyatsuda is like literally a gang. But I do always say I think Iori is like the only real gangster in that gang, and like Zen is kind of his right hand man. But I feel like they really shelter the boys from a lot of stuff. Like there's that part in Rage, right, where those like punks see the boys coming and they're like, "Oh my god, guys, it's the Akanyatsuda no," and he, or like Suiseki Gumi no, like, "Oh, it's the Suiseki boys" or whatever. And in my head, it's not that they're like, "Oh no, these boys are in a gang." It's like, "Oh no, we know that the guy who's in charge of those boys will literally murder us if we do anything if we mess around with his kids." That's how I assume it goes. Let's see here. Cosmo's and Akanyatsuda boys helping Haruomi to run the ramen shop. I'm putting that one down. Cosmo's. There we go. That's a good one. I like that. Good way of thinking about it. They started the same, but take different paths and end up establishing somewhat similar environments in different ways. Yes, and I think it's also interesting too because like they have very different functionalities within their groups. Like it's funny to me because like you have Yohei, who's this really like, he's kind of a prickly dude, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of very like he's not very huggy, he's kind of like not openly affectionate. He's kind of tsundere in a sense. He's like, ugh, but he's like a tough guy, but he has this big heart. He cares a lot about the boys and stuff like that. And he cares very deeply for his group. And then you have like Iori, who's like outwardly very warm and sunny and stuff, but he has this kind of darkness within him, sort of. But he also has like a very strong sense of like protection around his boys. I think it's really interesting though, the way that they differ and the way that they're similar though. Let's see here. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean, literally, the cat's whiskers and Akanyatsu are supposed to be foils, though, right? Because you have the cat's whiskers who are inspired by East Coast rap, and Akanyatsu are inspired by West Coast rap. So the whole concept of them being foils is like deeply ingrained into the writing and the conceptualization of these groups. I feel like there's a lot of ways to complete your sentence there, Shimmerheart. So I'm not even sure what it is that you're trying to hint at, because there are a lot of ways I could finish that sentence. I think that also too, like one thing that I really like about Paradox Live, and I talk about this now, like I've been working also on the Visti script, and so I talk about it also. I will talk about it also in that video. I like that each group has its like wheelhouse. These are the things we talk about, and it doesn't really depart from those things. Like here are my experiences, and I talk to my experiences, and not about experiences I don't have. Right? So, like, Yohei might mention being a gangster, Iori and them might mention being gangsters, but, like, you don't have, like, Hajun out there being like, yo, I grew up poor on these streets, I'm a gangster, you know what I mean? I think that it's a little bit genuine, in this, as genuine as a media project can be, right? So I think it's really nice in the sense that they're not, because one of the, in my personal opinions, one of the, like, the failings of, or one of the things I don't tend to care about care for in Japanese hip hop and rap is kind of like overly appropriating concepts from American hip hop and rap, especially speaking to experiences that are not experiences that they have experienced. That was a lot of experiences. But you know what I mean? Like, so whenever, like, I feel like Japanese rappers or something who are talking about, like, you know, we grew up on these hard streets, we in the hood, you know, or something like that. I feel like it's immediately ingenuine. Like, it's disingenuous. The experiences of people who have grown up in these sort of dangerous neighborhoods or something in the U.S. who have been affected by gang violence or something. There are those experiences, like, you know, people who experience gang violence and things like that. I'm not saying that people don't grow up in poverty or something in Japan, but I think that there's, like, differences in the way that things happen. And I feel like when you overly appropriate these concepts that are spoken to in American hip hop and rap, it really does come across as extremely cheap and superficial, right? And so within the fact that Paradox Live is like fictional, I appreciate the fact that like each group speaks to the things that it knows, right? So Bay isn't out here talking about they grew up hungry and poor. They don't talk about that. They talk about the things that matter to them, being like chasing their own self-actualization, being validated as who they are, and confirming that their choice to pursue their happiness is valid. You know, Dongha doesn't talk about, you know, I don't know, being in a drive-by or something. It's Dongha, you know. So I think that those are nice parts of Paradox Live, where they kind of stay within their wheelhouse. They stay within their boundaries, and they don't try to pretend to be things they're not. Unlike, you know, maybe other hip hop projects that might use things like Hood or whatever. Not trying to throw shade or anything, I swear. Sorry, but yeah. Also, I mean, maybe, yeah, you know, I don't know. Shion is a very horny on main kind of character. You know what I mean? He is very much that. I will say, when I was listening to Catharsis, I loudly snorted. I was just like, well, he just came out and said it this time. Literally. But yeah, anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk of me explaining things that I particularly like about Paradox Live, that are maybe like, that I think sets it apart as like a media project personally. But yeah, I do think those are cool concepts. And I think that it's nice that you have Visti specifically, and I'll talk more about it obviously in the Visti video. But I think it's nice that Visti is like this idol group, right? But I think the whole point is that I think it's a way to address the fact that like rap and hip hop has influenced idol pop, right? Like they rap in K-pop, they rap in J-pop. You know, it's not like rap and hip hop just came out of nowhere. And I think that like a recognition that this genre has also affected other genres is nice. I don't really know what transphobia you're talking about regarding Owie. I'm trying to recall. I think that the only things that people are really saying, like the chat, so to speak, in the Road to Legend, are really just talking about how Owie is kind of like one note and tends to fall into this like Prince trope. Um, I don't think anyone specifically was like. In fact, I don't think in universe that people don't. I think in universe everyone just assumes that Owie is a cis male because Owie is a part of a male idol unit. I mean, I don't think it's like specifically addressed, but I would assume that since Owie lives together with the other members of Visti, that the assumption is that Owie is just a cis male. In my personal like headcanon or understanding of it, I assume that Owie is a trans man, um, but I also don't know. So it's possible that Owie is like a AMAB non-binary person too. I have no idea. Though I will say the way that Owie is written is very the way that Owie is written is very strongly indicative of like a certain kind of like lesbian trope, I guess, for lack of a better terminology. It makes me think of like is the character called Kaoru in what is that? Bang Dream? Seto, I think. The purple haired one who's very like that character, the character from Gekkan Shoujo no Zaki-kun, the blue-haired girl who's like in the theater, and then also obviously all the characters from Lobelia in Ouran High School Host Club. If any of you are old enough to have watched that or have watched it in general, I mean these are all tropes based on Takarazuka. If you're not familiar, Takarazuka Review is a theater company of like all women, and all the women play all the roles. And so you have these very like princely types who will play like the actress for Anne in the stage show is a Takarazuka Review actress who has had other parts, but she's typically an actress who plays male roles. I forget the word for it. But that's also why when she's singing, her pitch is kind of lower because those are the sorts of roles she typically plays. Good examples of like Takarazuka Review performances are things like they'll do like productions like Rose of Versailles or something where you have these very classically, the female character, but she's like this princely male, like Lady Oscar or whatever. That's the trope that Aoi is based on in my interpretation as somebody who's like seen this trope a bajillion times. So that's also what leads me to believe that Owie is a trans man. But yeah, I think that them saying about Owie, I think it's maybe not what you're talking about there, Shimmerheart. I think that really what it is that they're just saying that Owie is this really played out trope of being a princely type. Yes, Kaoru Seta from Bandori, thank you. I was like, the name is on the tip of my tongue, but this is like a very common trope, and where you have this very like princely character who's kind of an androgynous, AFAB person who is like, oh, my princess is, But yeah, so that's kind of why I think, and I think that also from the perspective of like reading Aoi as like a trans man, I could see the prince persona as them trying to capture or kind of figure out who they are in terms of like navigating masculinity as like a concept and kind of how you interact with the world and those around you. and having maybe this kind of like maybe like a kind of a naive concept of what it means to be like a desirable male figures, you know. The translator Jackal, who does, like I said, who I cite for like all my stuff, had a really cool take. Said based on like the manga series, Boys Run the Riot, which is a fantastic series. If you haven't read it, Boys Run the Riot is it's a manga about a trans man, like a young trans man in high school, and his friends who start a fashion brand to like express themselves. And in that, there's like a comment one of the characters makes about like how he's just constantly like if he makes it like if he confesses his feelings for like a girl, she like usually he's met with like a negative response because they don't really like that per se. And so Jackal was connecting the dots and saying like Awie's trauma hashtag killed by I'm sorry might be something like that, where maybe in the past he has confessed to somebody that he's liked, but they haven't reciprocated it because of how he's been born. And I think that was like a really cool take. I think that's like a super good read personally. So Boys Run the Riot is fantastic. I also, if you're ever in the market for like an LGBT story, I always recommend Our Dreams at Dusk, which is like the Japanese name is like Tasogare Shinanami Tasogare, something like that. I'm so sorry, I'm not fluent in this, but it's a story about a high school boy who's like coming to terms with being gay, and it's just so relatable for anyone who is like LGBT, who's had experiences with coming out, coming to terms with yourself and how you feel and your identity. And it's really nice because within the story, there's all these different people who are LGBT. There's like a lesbian couple. There is a trans man. There's a young boy who's kind of experimenting with gender but doesn't really have a label for himself yet. There's the main character who's gay, and there's an older couple who's also gay, and it has all these different kind of parts of life and where they are, and it has these just very relatable and realistic moments, and it's written by a queer author or a queer creator, so to speak, and it is very like it's just so human. I absolutely love that series. I own the whole thing. And I don't know. I think it's really great. It's a very good read for people who want to read something about that feels like I understand these people. Like all of these people, I feel like I totally get where they are, and it's very good. Yeah. So yeah, Anne is canonically non-binary, like AMAB non-binary, and you're welcome. Also, I guess in terms of like other like LGBT mangas, uh, is it X Gender? I think is the title of it. That one's pretty good, and it's just about a person who identifies as X Gender, so like non-binary. Um, there are actually a lot of really good LGBT stories written by LGBT people, in my opinion. Sometimes you just gotta find stuff that speaks to you. So I I really need to get back to my like series of one shots about Aoi and Satsuki as friends, and I like kind of navigating masculinity, because I think it's a really cool concept where you have different experiences, kind of like where Satsuki is masculine in this kind of very like he's a Yankee, right? And there's like very masculine elements of that where he's kind of like rude and in your face, and he's very assertive, but he's also just like the nicest kid. I love Satsuki so much. I feel like I have students sometimes who remind me of Satsuki, and I'm always just like they're always my favorite, right? But no, where he has like all this kind of stuff, and like Aoi kind of looks up to him in the sense that he is very assertive and he's very confident. He appears very confident of who he is, kind of. But like Aoi, on the other hand, is out here saying stuff like, "Oh, my princesses, like I wish we could go on a date. Where would we go?" and stuff like that. And Satsuki's sitting there like, "Oh my god, how could you even say that? That's crazy. What are you, insane?" Kind of thing. I think that that's a really fun dynamic. I would love to see Satsuki and Aoi interact with each other. That's like my bro TP. I want them to be friends very badly. They can be like the Anne fan club together, and they can relate with each other about, I don't know, being themselves and becoming comfortable with themselves. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're like, I want them to be platonic friends. I mean, obviously, like Aoi is 16, like but I think it'd be cool, like where you could have Aoi trying to help Satsuki build his like people skills, and then like Satsuki is lending Aoi some like confidence. Maybe they go work out together. I think I just wrote that chapter. Did I finish that chapter? It wasn't really chapters. They're literally vignettes. Again, this is another thing where I'm trying to write vignettes. I don't want that one to turn into like literally a narrative, because I don't think I have enough to write a full narrative. But the title of that one is oh my god, it's Hollyhock and Wisteria, Wisteria and Hollyhock, because those are also Satsuki and Aoi both have floral names. So like the Ito in Satsuki Ito is like, the Ito is like Wisteria, and then Aoi's name means hollyhock, so they're both flowers. And they also both have like unisex names, because Satsuki's name is like unisex as well. So I feel like they also have things in common with each other that also go well together. Okay, cool. I'm glad that I am not, I don't know, hallucinating that I've put things up. Navigating masculinity, exactly. But I think it's kind of cool, because it also is just like they're so wildly different. Like their groups are also wildly different. You know what I mean? But right, like Aoi's like, I live at home with my idol group, and Satsuki's like, I live at home with my gang. Meanwhile, they're like, Aoi's like, we can't be seen in public. We cannot be associated with a gang. I think it's interesting that in universe, like, I assume that it's like an open secret in universe that they have gang affiliations. Do I ever think that there would be any instance where Bay and inmate would interact? I would like to hope there will be. Like, I really genuinely hope we see more group interactions, right? Like in Anthem and in other stuff going forward. So, like, we were talking about it earlier, that it'd be really cool to see Alan and Kay interact with each other. Because I don't really know what, like, Hajun or Anne would have to say to like Itsuki or Rokuta, but I think it'd be really cool to see Kei and Alan specifically interact with each other. Donha, Kenta, Aoi, Kantaro, and Rokuta all managed to find themselves at a host club type situation. They would all be kicked out for being underage. Unless you mean like high school host club, I guess. In which case, I guess. Oh, what? That's crazy. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so cool. I just blanked on his name. Hayashi Yu. That's so neat. Guys, if you didn't know, Yohei's voice actor is also the Japanese voice of Steven Universe. I think that's really funny. I was saying, though, I was like imagining earlier in the series, I was thinking of like High School Host, like, or on High School Host Club, but like Paradox Live, and like Hajun would obviously be Kyoya. And then I was trying to figure out who oh my god, I just completely forgot his name. Tamaki would be, but obviously the twins would have to be like Kanata and Nayuta, because you have like the brash big brother, and then like the slightly frail but like more socially in tune younger brother trope. Yeah, I think that's as far as I got. Oh, I guess like yeah, I'm trying to think now. Who would be oh my god, Mori and Honey. It's just like Iori and Zen. But like Iori is like 4 feet tall. He's also Mikey's voice actor, yes, from Tokyo Revengers. He's actually a bunch of stuff. Hayashi Yu. I was recently watching something going around Twitter where he was like singing, and it was just like him doing vocals, but like for something else, and his voice is completely different. But also, from like a rap standpoint, I love Yohei's flow. Yohei's flow is one of like my top favorites in the whole series. It's kind of like it's just there's something very like unique, I guess, about it, and it's really good. Yeah, Nagita and Kanata aren't really mischievous. They're more just like I want to leave. It like Kanata and Nagita are closer to like Haruhi. Oh my gosh, he's Tanaka from Haikyuu. That's wild. Hokusai, duh. Why was I? Oh my god, Emma, you're right. What am I thinking? Where is my head? You're totally right. I okay, so I love Ryota. Like I love Ryota's enthusiasm for the series, but also the one downside of Ryota is that when I'm driving in the car, I can barely hear Simon's verses because the rumble of his voice is so low that it mingles with the sound of my engine. Yeah, Yohei just he has that kind of like it's like savage, but it's kind of like I don't know. He just has like a really cool delivery that I'd really like. I also love Satsuki. I think that like I'm gonna just blank on every single person's name. Hatanaka. You him. um I think his flow like Satsuki's such a good rapper. Like he's so good. I also really like Iori when he pulls out like some kind of unexpected flair. I think that first off, I had the theory before that Iori would sing enka, like the genre of music enka, which is kind of like old people music, I guess. But that was kind of my headcanon. And then like there's like a video of his voice actor actually singing enka, and it's perfect. So I could see that. But I really like when he pulls stuff out. Like I think he like one of my favorite ones is in Oyakedo, right? He has that like really intense bit. But yeah, things like that. I love it when he goes off the chain. I like Zen, but I like Zen because I'm incredibly biased. I love everything Zen does. He's perfect. Dude, I love it when Satsuki comes out of the bench just swinging. Now Akira made me watch. Yeah. Let's see. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. Um so I don't know how this will read, but I literally recognized Ryota because like I heard his voice and I was like, "Yo, ain't that the guy who did the dog from Dramatical Murder?" And that's what was my frame of reference, and I only know that because when I was in college, a friend of mine and I were like, "Wouldn't it be funny if we like downloaded that like Yaoi game and we played it?" And so we were like playing through it. We didn't even get that far because we lost interest, but we started playing through some of it, and we just thought it was so funny though because the dog every time it came, it'd be like, "Oh, boy." We were just like, "What's with this dog?" And then you have like now Simon is like, "Yo, hey," so that was my best impersonation of him. Um, I do think Hokusai is a little bit underrated. Like I mean, he usually kind of just chimes in to add stuff, but Hokusai does have a solid whatever. I also really like some of like Reo's flow. Like when he's rapping is so fast. Like so, I have actually memorized Iori's like verse in Rebellion, and I've tried so many times to learn Reo's verse, and it's so hard because he talks so fast. But it's but no, I think that I like all of Akane Yatsura, obviously. Like I said, I'm incredibly biased. But I think all the parts work really well together. I just think like as insofar as rapping goes, I think like Yohei and like Satsuki are kind of like at the top for me. I think Itsuki does really well as well. He just has like a really good flow. Who else do I want to shout out while I'm shouting out? Oh, obviously Kenta. Kenta has like a crazy rap, and Kanata. So like if we could get like the machine gun rap people in like a shuffle group, that would be a 100%. That'd be awesome. Dude, for real. Like Reo versus Kenta versus Kanata, and they're just doing Rap God. I will admit I've never watched Haikyuu, but I'm vaguely aware of who that is. Like I'm vaguely aware of who like Tanaka is. Actually, I feel like the name Tanaka reminded me of like shout out to the list of like most common surnames in Japan. The Wikipedia list of most common surnames in Japan has been doing the heavy lifting for all of my naming of characters in The Crow That Turns White. I think Shiki has a good like because when you actually look at Shiki's verses, there's a lot of words. I think that Junta Terashima does like a really good job of getting all those in and not making it just sound like he's reading the telephone book. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the thing: like when I'm like shouting out characters that I think do really well, I think all of the characters are good at rapping. Right? I think they are all proficient performers. They're already good. Like it's just the ones that really stand out as being like outstanding are the ones that I'm kind of mentioning. But I think like everyone does a good job. I really like for example, I really like Ryoga's style of rapping and that kind of like Beastie Boys rock rap style. But you know, like in that group though, like Kenta's the standout. He's crazy. He's going sicko mode, which I was told by a student recently makes me sound like so much of a whatever you are. I think he wanted to call me a boomer, but he knew I wasn't a boomer. I didn't realize the kids weren't saying sicko mode anymore. That's my bad. I got no riz. Let's see. Yeah, like literally Kenta has so many parts where it's just like insane. I don't know. It's super cool. I have like so much. I can't rap, guys. Like I sing along with rap sometimes. I'm not very good at it. Like I have so much respect for people who can rap and make it sound good. You know what I mean? And also, right, Shini's like in the recent ones, Shiki's kind of come to life a little bit. And he's started to have more like determination, and I think that's one of those like storytelling things within Paradox Live that's like really cool, where we get to see his like, growth and development, where he's starting to kind of like, you know, assert himself. Battler's rap. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing though. There are different kinds of flows within rap that are still kind of considered rap, right? Like there are parts of Simon's verses that almost seem more like him saying things than him like rapping, so to speak. But there are also just slower flows that still kind of falls within the umbrella of rap, so to speak. But I do think that Battler does have like a good sound, right? I do think Amperl has a really good sound and aesthetic, and not great writing. Dude, Kenta learned how to talk fast so he could throw out gamer words well in the lobby with a bunch of other 10-year-olds. I assume Kenta's that kid who's like, you know, saying that he's done things to your mom while you're playing like Call of Duty. Dude, you know what's wild is honestly like Ayumu, like somebody I know has said in the past that like the cool thing about Paradox Live as well is that it really is kind of like challenging voice actors to kind of step out of their zone of like comfort in a lot of ways, where you have like, for example, Ayumu, who usually has kind of like more higher voiced androgynous characters, playing this kind of like ikemen type character. I immediately forgot of every other example that person gave me, but yeah. Among Us. Kenta's like the dreamline. Dude, Kenta cracks me up. Like, so I think Kenta is so genuinely such a funny character. Like, I relate so hard to being like an edgy 15-year-old. I too was an edgy 15-year-old. Like, I want to see like Kenta's secret stash of like edgy poetry where it's like, my heart is black, nobody understands me, the world is cruel, nobody gives a damn. Like, and he's like, he like swears in it, and he's like, yeah, I said that. One day, like, Yudo is like looking around, like he's checking the cell, and he's like, what's this? And he like opens it up, and it's all of like Kenta's edgy poetry. His edgy Wattpad poetry. He's got little like sad faces and stuff drawn on it. At night when I cry, no one's there to comfort me. The only company is my tears. I say this with love in my heart, again, as somebody who is also an edgy 15-year-old. Yes, exactly. All of his verses. Or his tweets. Dude. Nah. Kenta's the kind of kid who wants to be a Yankee, but like he doesn't have like the nerve to actually be a Yankee in real life. Like, he's gonna talk like a Yankee online, but the moment you get him in real life, he's kind of just like if you're like Reo, right, you can kind of like talk off to him, or like Yudo, because he knows Yudo won't get up there. But I feel like if somebody actually posed like a threat to him, he would probably like simmer down pretty quick. He's just an edgy emo boy, dude. Okay, concept for those of you who are alive and on Tumblr in the 2010s, Kenta, but he's cosplaying the Onceler. Onceler Kenta, anyone? That's a free concept. You can do what you want with it. I need to know, what is your genuine opinion? What in terms of like Shion? There's like a lot there, I guess. What specifically, like as a character, like as a whole? The craziest thing is Kenta's not even short. He's like quite tall. he just like, he's short in personality. Not really. Kenta and Dongha to be besties. You would not be the only one. There's a lot of Kenta Dongha shippers too. I love the oh no's. You're welcome. Yes, please have the Onceler Kenta. Somebody make that edit for me, please. Thank you. I was barely sentient. Please don't. You should remind me how old. I think that was like so long ago. That was like 14 years ago. 2010 was 14 years ago. Oh, like, I think Shion's an interesting character. Like, I think he really strikes me as somebody who is kind of like coping with things in his life through these kinds of like hedonistic pursuits, right? Like, he kind of calls himself a hedonist. I am very interested, like, to kind of like with his backstory, right? We kind of have a vague idea of why he's in prison in the first place and stuff. But I feel like Shion might be one of those kinds of people who is coping with things in his life by acting out in this like overly sexual manner. That's a thing that people will sometimes do after having experienced trauma and stuff. I think he's just kind of like, I think that he has the parts there to be an interesting character. And again, I think with like a lot of these newer characters, we just really haven't had the opportunity to see that kind of come into full fruition yet, which is like, in my opinion, that's been kind of a shame so far. Love seeing hedonist. I feel like and I feel like Hedonists kind of have that in manga, in like anime. They have kind of that reputation of always being just like horny on main, which I guess is part of it. But yeah, I do think that there are interesting things there. I would like to see more, but I could see him. I think that like him and his past of people being kind of taking an interest in him because he's different and he looks the way he does, it leads me to believe that this is kind of the reason for his like overly sexual acting, if that makes sense. I don't want to be like talking about certain topics and stuff, obviously, but in a general broad scope, that to me could be like a reason why he is the way he is. I am also so excited about the fan book. I want to see. Guys, I literally was laying awake at night the other day because I am so excited to like build on my my timeline. Here, let me real quick. I'm gonna go to my blank screen real quick so I can open up my thing here because it's on a different drive. I don't want to have that. Where's my Paradox Live timeline? Okay, here. So I have this timeline, and it's all of the canonical events of the series that we vaguely know exist based on the fan book and the events of the light novel and things that we can reckon based on canonical understanding of when things happen. And once the fan book comes out and things get translated, so my dumb, not Japanese fluent person can read it, I'm going to complete the timeline, and then I want to make a video about it so I can kind of talk through the general timeline of events in this universe. But yeah, so you start with 800 years ago when Ryu sprang from a boulder, and then 5 years after that, Ryu was 5 years old. Next event is 38 years ago, Chisei was born, Haruomi was born, Naoki was born, Yuto was born, Chung-sung was born, Iori was born, Yohei was born, Zen was born, Hokusai, etc., etc., etc. All the people were born, basically. They continue being born up until, where is Dongha? Dongha being born here. Which is interesting, because, like, I love seeing this, though. This is the cool part, is, like, yeah. So, like, Iori joins the Suiseki Gumi the same year that Dongha is born, which is, like, wild. You have, like, 17 years ago, where all the 17-year-olds were born, because there's a bunch of them. You've got Alan 18 years ago starting his musical education. We've got now Akira, so like Simon, got his BA, okay, which is a bachelor's degree basically, and he starts graduate school. He apparently finished his BA in like a year early, so he basically finished it in 3 years. The same year that Yohei graduated from middle school, which is wild, and Anne develops an interest in clothes. Then you have the Double Trouble flashback, because in that time period you have where like Yohei has recently joined the gang, and Iori, like, kills a guy, and Yohei's like, dude, that's crazy, why'd you do that? And Iori's like, if you're gonna go against the boss, you deserve to die, but they're, like, 15, so you have to, like, remember that. And then later you have the Justice flashback, so they're a little bit older, they're, like, 17 or so, 16 or 17, so that flashback comes next, and then you have, like, 11 years ago, Iori is, like, formally adopted, gets the name Suiseki, because, reminder, Iori's original name was not actually Suiseki, it was something else. I love to imagine it's literally like Sato or something, like just like super generic name. But so he receives that name, he's like officially formally adopted. Yohei leaves the gang. Hokusai's bullied for his father's crimes, and then Kanata and Nayuta escape the facility. You have 10 years ago where Chisei and Haruomi just vanish. That's the same year that Simon and Tsubaki get married. Iori graduates high school and becomes a manager of Candy, and kind of starts really kind of planning on his, I would consider this like the start of him being kind of like trained into becoming the next head, so to speak, as like the formal heir. You have 9 years ago where Simon, basically Tsubaki dies and Quadra X disbands. Yohei becomes the barmaster of Bar 7-4. Zen becomes a policeman in this year. Hokusai can't make friends. Hajun is 12 and is basically raised to be the head of the Yon conglomerate. And then Kanata and Naita start doing hip-hop. which is wild as well. I don't know. It's just very interesting, I guess, like, as somebody who's older now, to feel like all these crazy things are happening to these kids. Meanwhile, like, you have, like, full adults taking on jobs, which is crazy. Which, I mean, yeah, it makes sense, because obviously they're older. It's just weird to conceptualize. Then 8 years ago, from the starting point of the series, Zen gets into working out at 19 years old. Hajun gets sent to Japan. Alan gets interested in hip-hop. Satsuki's family circumstances get bad, and Shiki falls in love with plants while he's at his orphanage. 7 years ago, Simon reunites with Yohei, because there's that whole period of time where he doesn't talk, and he's, like, drowning himself into sorrows in his graduate studies. Hajun visits home, takes Dongha out to get a candied apple, which I got to add that one because Dongha said it happened when he was 7 years old, hence the math. And then Ryo's mother leaves that same year. We got now Simon and Yohei, who resume rapping, so they continue or start performing under Quadra X again. Literally, this particular information is the only reason I started making this timeline, because when I started writing The Crow That Turns White, I mentioned that, like, Quadra X made a new song, and I had, because I was pretty sure that they started rapping again, but I didn't know when, so I had to literally go back and make an entire timeline to figure out when the events happened, to make sure that it would be, like, a time period, or a period of time in which Zen would have been undercover. And I ultimately deemed it to be, like, yeah, it ended up being perfect, because Zen also this year, sometime in this year, enters Suiseki Gumi. Hokusai is taken in by Yuri. Hajun meets Alan, and Alan, they're both in high school. Also, though, too, like, because I'm this kind of person as well, I'm like, when in the year is it, though? Because literally the year that Zen turns 21, that's literally any time after the new year. So it's kind of vague still, but let's not get crazy, right? So 5 years ago, Alan's parents burn his records, Anne's parents divorce, Satsuki gets involved in a fight and goes to juvie, and Ryo's father disappears, leaving him in debt. 4 years ago, Hajun and Alan meet Anne, who just arrived in Japan. Satsuki is 15 and he gets out of juvie and finds his house deserted. Shiki is 13 and he meets Nayuta, who's 15. And then you have the light novel story for Bei and for Cosmez. 3 years ago, then, you have Yohei meet Ryu, who we don't know how old he is. And then you have Hajun at 18, who goes into college and starts modeling. Alan gets admitted to college. Satsuki is picked up by Yuri. Ryo is picked up by Yuri, and they both join Suiseki Gumi. Then you have the light novel story from Akan Yatsura. This one happens, I figured it's sometime between, like 2 to 3 years ago, because it's right after Ryo gets picked up, because Ryo is new to the gang. And Satsuki literally has just gotten picked up. So it's literally within that year. 2 years ago, Simon becomes a professor, takes in Shiki, who's 15. Iori, Zen, Hokusai, Satsuki, and Ryo survive the raid. Alan is 18, admitted to college, leaves home, starts working at Club Candy, and goes to move in with Alan and Hajun. Nayuta, question marks, because that's what's in the fan book. And then 1 year ago, Shiki gets used to Ryu's behavior at 16 years old. So that's the timeline of events that we have to now. Now I can read all of any comments that appeared while I was doing that. Let's see here. I have my papers ready as well. I hope, no, like, literally, I feel like this series has made me into that conspiracy guy with, like, the threads and stuff. That's literally become me because of this series. Because, like, I'll find all this stuff. It's like when I find all the pictures of, like, every single time in art that Zen is staring at Iori or something, where I'm like, look, I'm not crazy. Like, if you look at it. No. Let's see here. A lot of these memories. Okay. Okay, all right. Let's see. I love how Hokusai is not having because, like, literally, if you find one in here that's kind of, like, funnily worded, it's because I'm, like, taking it from the fan book. So, like, literally one of the fan book timelines is, like, that Hokusai can't make friends. So, that's a really interesting question, Shanice. I don't know. I think that, honestly, probably a lot of people would be kind of, like, affected by it, right? Like, because I'm sure that, like, if Kanata were to find out that, he would also feel a certain kind of way to know that they'd been able to save Hajun when he wasn't able to save Nayuta and stuff. So that's, like, a really interesting thing in there. I think, but also, like, I don't think that Tsubaki had like a Phantom Metal item though. I think she was just undergoing experiments the same way that Nayuta was. But she was undergoing experience before Nayuta, obviously. And I don't know in those experiments if they had like an item or if they were just like being like exposed to the Phantom Metal in some way. If they were like injected or something. So it might have been different even with that respect. Let's see here. That one meme with the guy with the cork. I am literally the guy with the cork board and the red string, correct. Oh gosh. Homestuck. I haven't seen that name in years. I was on the other side of that fandom war if, again, you were alive in the 2010s and on Tumblr or in fandoms at that time. There was the great fandom war between Homestuck and Hitalia, and I was not on the Homestuck side of that. It took at least 1 year for Shiki to get used to Ryu, yes. It's not crazy. It's not crazy if you're producing results, right? It's kind of like it's not stupid if it works. That's how I feel, having put all this together. But yeah, no, this is actually really nice though, like from, again, as like a fic writer standpoint, because obviously now if you want to talk about things that are going on within the universe of the time that you're writing, if it's like in the past, this kind of helps to give you a little bit more perspective of like the overlapping timelines, which is, I think, is a lot of fun. I think it is really cool. Like, I also love that, like, for example, like Anne starts working at Club Candy right like in the same year as the raid on Suiseki Gumi, and so like my mental image of that is like Zen and Iori are there at Club Candy, and they're like clearly very depressed. And they're like, the hostesses are all kind of like sad, and there's like no one else there because it's just like just Iori and Zen working there, and like maybe they got Satsuki in the back. And like Anne, like they have like a "we're hiring" sign out front, and Anne comes in and is like, "Could I just like give you my application?" Like that's my mental image, because like they wouldn't have any like bodyguards or anything because all of the gang people are dead now, so that's not great. I do also think it's really interesting that Iori doesn't have Satsuki being a bodyguard, right? Because like back when he and Yohei were in the gang, they were both bodyguards, and they were 16 years old at least. I think it's kind of cool that instead he puts Satsuki on like back house and like maintenance duties, instead of putting him in a situation that he knows is probably bad for Satsuki because he's got a temper. Played both sides of the Phantom War. I appreciate your appreciation. I am nothing but comprehensive. I'm also comprehensive on things because I have crippling imposter syndrome, and I'm always paranoid that I actually just don't know what I'm talking about, and somewhere there's a hidden cache of information, and I'm wrong about everything. So, yeah. Buraikon was mentioned 10 years ago. Because that's when they were doing things, as in disappearing. They were also mentioned when they were born. I guess, like, because I didn't talk about the present either. Also, in Trust, Iori says it's been a year, so at least a year has passed since the first Paradox Live, up until the point of Trust. So I would like to know if they're going to show us, like, a timeline. Like, I want to know if everyone's, like, aged a year, or if they're all just, like, an eternal anime stasis. Because, like, maybe Satsuki is finally 20 years old and now he can drink alcohol. So he can go and, like, he can finally ask for Anne at Club Candy. He's old enough. Anne's going to clear him out. Poor guy. I guess, like, also, you could probably mention sometime in the time between Yohei leaving the gang and Buraikon disappearing, before the wedding, they go and see Buraikon live. So it's sometime in that time period, like either like 11 years ago or so from the beginning point of the series. I would like to see things that happen after, like, in the timeline of events in the past year, but who knows if we'll get that. All right. Also, so it looks like it's been about 2 hours now. So I'm going to let me flip back over to our. Here are my final concepts that we had gathered together. We've got Hokusai with Akan Katsura opening a pet shop, Akan Yatsura getting dressed in their performance outfits, AU where Akan Yatsura members have never met each other but ultimately run into each other, One Shot where Satsuki gets one over on Reo, or like basically he comes out on top on the end, Dongha dragged around by Akan Yatsura kids, Dongha realizing that Hajun is his brother when they go to the market together, Akan Yatsura guys and Goku Luck guys interacting, Akan Yatsura cat's whiskers and cats, Akan Yatsura guys running an anime cafe and messing up orders, Akan Yatsura getting lost in an IKEA, feat Cosmas, actually just everyone in Paradox Live, but they're in the IKEA SCP, and they have to hip-hop battle to get out. Fic, where Yudo and Hancho are two different guards at a prison complex. Kenta in the Geek Squad, which is one that I came up with and put in there. Iori and Zen are fic writers. Alan and Anne follow Hajun's daily routine. Nayuta takes Kanata clothes shopping. Werewolf AU beach episode. Tattoo shop AU switching bodies. Cosmas and Akan Yatsura boys helping Haruomi run the shop. Those were the fic concepts that came up. Oh, let's see here. Anthem would fit in at least a year after the starting point of the series. Yeah, Bay just won. Like, so basically, in the original Paradox Live competition, which was not hosted by Budokan, but was alleged to be hosted by Budokan, one of the like parts of the competition would be to rap against Budokan and like battle against Budokan for like dominance, so to speak. However, after Ultra Trigger was like basically collapsed, Haruomi seized control of the competition, but this Road to Legend part of the competition did not involve a battle against Budokan. Instead, they just said that they would pass on Club Paradox to the title of King of Hip Hop, I guess, to the next generation. Also, I just really wanted. I have not listened to the tracks yet. I'll have to listen once they get on Spotify. But in my head, I was imagining it's the part where Haruomi's like, I'm handing over the club to you. Congratulations, Bay. And then, in runs, Chisei, the real Chisei. He's like, what's going on? That was my mental image. If I'm wrong, don't tell me yet. Alternatively, concept, they're, up there on stage. They're, winning, and then, Akan. And then comes Akan Yatsura with the chair, and then, that could also be fun. Just concepts. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to close up then. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to approach these. Should we maybe make a randomizer? How many ideas are these? Because I do want to try to put out something for each of them. There are 20 ideas. Let me roll a d20 here. I have a d20. Reach into my dice bag here. Okay, if I roll a d20, let's see what I get. I'm going to roll a nat 1. You watch this. I rolled a 14. Ann and Alan following Hajun's daily routine. I will start with that one. I think I'll make maybe a little series of them, and I will post them as I come out with them. It's probably going to take me some time, obviously, because there's a lot of them, and I also am working on other projects, but I do want to give people things that they've asked for, obviously. So these will be background projects that I'll be working on as I go. I open up the wrong window. I have played so many different tabletop. I've played at least 4 different systems, and also just sometimes do goofy one-shot sessions with my friends or something. But yes, I have played D&D. I've played Numenera. I've played a little bit of Warhammer stuff, but it was specifically It was one of the Warhammer things, and I completely forget which part of it. Um, and I've also played Edge of Empire, I think is the Star Wars one. I also played one where it was Pokemon, and I genuinely forgot. It's like a fan homebrew system, but you're like a Pokemon. Played that one too, so it was a good time. I did, yeah. I will follow Hajun's. So, all right, real quick, I do want to clarify. So, the one where I'm doing Alan and Anne following Hajun's routine, is it literally them and they're just like doing the things that he usually does, like with Hajun? I'm assuming. Okay, Paradox Live D&D AU. Zen is a paladin. Iori is a rogue, but he's like a merchant. Um, Satsuki is a barbarian. Those are just off the top of my head. Maybe like Zen, not Zen. I'm sorry. Hokusai is a. I always forget the one. Not a ranger. You know, the animal one. I'm completely blanking. I didn't get super into D&D. I mostly, my favorite character, I will share this because I love this character. My favorite character that I ever made, because I usually play a meme character, because I'm that guy. My favorite character that I made for a Baldur's Gate run was, he was an isekai rogue. And like in his previous, like in his normal real world life, he was a weird incel anime guy, and then he got isekai'd into Baldur's Gate world, and then he was a rogue, and he convinced everybody that he was a cleric for the goddess, but the goddess was literally just Astolfo from Fate, who he had on a body pillow. And through sheer luck, I have never had this luck ever again, not since this particular game. Through sheer luck, I rolled some 20s at times that were like crucial, and basically I managed to be so lucky that I convinced other people that the goddess was real and that the guy's cleric powers were real. And then when I was using rogue, I just used like illusion magic, and I convinced him, or like people around me, that I was like giving them blessings, and they just believed so much in the blessings that they worked. And like I would just like make references to anime, but obviously they didn't know the anime, so like I would say things like, in the name of the moon the goddess blesses you and stuff, and people would be like, oh my god, that's so legit. But yeah, and then like literally the guy just made his like he got people to create like fan art of Astolfo by just saying like it's holy work, you have to like produce paintings of the goddess, and then also by what was he, he just lived off of people's tithes, so collecting money from believers. That was my favorite D&D character. He was a scumbag. Druid, thank you. Druid is the one I'm thinking of. I have unalived 5 people. Usually I end up being like a support player because all my friends want to be the the charge in and swing a sword guys, and so I always end up being the ones with healing abilities because somebody's got to do it. But I'm always like kind of goofy. There's usually some anime tie just so I can have an excuse to make anime references while playing. But anyway, now that I have all that taken care of, thank you guys. I am going to put those things to use. I hope you got something out of this live today. It's been a lot of fun hanging out and chilling with y'all. Yeah, I hope we can do this again sometime. I'm hoping that since I have the next 6 days off, that I'll be able to put up the Visti video sometime this week, and then it'll probably be another like week and a half or something until Amperl, which, as I said before, I'm not super looking forward to it, but it's got to be done. So I'll get to that, and then it'll be in Maiden Gokula because I follow the general progression of events, and then hopefully by that time we have the fan book out and translated, and then I can put out the timeline video and stuff like that. Then I'll start going through the albums of Road to Legend. Anyway, so it's been really nice. I hope you guys